In this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that I personally implemented into my sales scripts that helped me go from a 40% close rate to a 60% close rate in less than a month. If you guys have any questions about anything I go over in this video, leave a comment down below or hit me up on my IG. It'll be in the description. Hope you enjoy the video. All right, cool. What's good? I don't like to overcomplicate things, but these are 5 easy implementations that I made and I implemented into my own closing that helps me go from a 40% to a 60% close rate and overall just make a ton more in cash collected. Number one, I live by this because I used to fall victim to this too, is stop reading a script. Now, what do I mean by that? Is for your first few weeks, maybe a month should be the most. You're going to feel a lot more comfortable looking at the script. But if you don't know the script from heart, if you don't know front to back, really the framework and discovery, report, pre-handling, building the gap, if you can't memorize that, you're gonna sound like a robot on sales calls. And I used to look back at my Fathoms, my old sales calls. I'm sitting there just like, yeah, like and almost on like a personal level, man. Like, how's that been impacting you? Like, I just sound like a robot. The biggest thing is you need to be present on the sales call. You're actually trying to help this person get them to where they want to go. You have to be present, having a conversation. If you don't know what questions you're supposed to ask, if you don't even know what outcomes, which is more important than knowing the questions, the outcomes, the answers you need, you'll stay at that 30-40% close rate. And I used to do that too. Once I really internalized the script, I was writing it down every single day, front to bottom, every objection handle, every pre-handle, every single thing. That's whenever I was seeing a super high increase in my close rate just because I actually knew what I was asking. And most importantly, I knew the outcomes and I was present on the conversation. It didn't sound like a robot. It was just like I was talking to a buddy or a friend downstairs on the couch, just having a conversation, still having better tonality and never just like reading from a script. If you constantly read from a script, you'll stay at 30-40% close rate. Um, Number two, you need to be able to contextualize your questions just so the prospect actually knows what you're talking about. Um, in B2C, a lot of the guys, or even B2B, it's everywhere. Sometimes the prospects are just like, they don't know what you're asking. And is that the fault of them or you? I don't know, but you should feed them the question. What I've seen with the most successful students in general is that they're easily able to describe where they want to go, but they're just as easily able to describe where they don't want to go and almost use it as like what I've seen with the most successful students. The people I've seen inside the program that have done the best have a strong why on why they're doing something, right? Reason that they should wake up. Really just contextualizing it, labeling it so it's easier for them to answer, understand the answer. Like, yeah, what's your why, man? Like, what's kind of your why behind getting this? Obviously, don't overcomplicate it and go off of a minute monologue of you just talking about some type of what I've seen with X, Y, and Z. Bro, don't sound like a robot, but contextualize it so it's easier to just understand as a prospect. You want to make it as easy as possible, and not just for them to answer, but just so you can get the correct answer, so you're not running around in loops and having to re-ask it and reframing it. So really just like contextualizing questions. Another big thing, honestly, I think is probably the second most important thing that helps me actually get the answers I need is tactical vulnerability. If you don't know what that is, what it is you pretty much use an example from yourself or a student or somebody you know, and to really get the answer you're looking for. For example, I know it's kind of complex, but yeah, and like you feeling like that like what's that been like for you? Like wanting to be able to make more for your family, wanting to be able to learn the skills so you can get to X, Y, and Z outcome. What's that been like for you? Because like for me personally, like when I was working X or Y or Z job, I was clocking in and I hated my life, right? I was making 3 grand a month and I was doing this working at 5 a.m. and I hated my life and it was just super frustrating because I'm putting all this work in and I'm getting little to none in return. I'm still having to live in my parents' house. I'm still having to, clock in every day, and I can't travel whenever. I can't do this. I can't help out my ex, my wife, my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, whatever it is. Contextualizing it, and it's just super frustrating and annoying. It really just like honestly just like pissed me off. Like that was like what I was feeling. But like for you, like what's that been like for you? Obviously, I just kind of went on a tangent, but long story short, use your own tactical vulnerability. You've been there before to be able to get the right answers. Because sometimes if the prospect's hard, the being vague, um, asking an impact question can land pretty soft. Like, yeah, and like you feeling, oh, it's not been that bad. Like, having to clock in and stuff like that. I try to have gratitude, man. But just really using that tactical vulnerability. For me, it was super stressful. It was super frustrating having to do this and this and this every single day, not even making enough to be able to provide for the people around me. What's that been like for you? Like, how's that been impacting you on like a personal level? This is key to actually getting into the pain points and diving in, right? Really pulling off the layer because this goes to show the transparency on your end, and then B, the transparency on their end. They're going to feel more inclined to open up and actually give you the answer you want in terms of like an impact question, right? Because a lot of people are like, yeah, it's not that bad. Like, and this is more primarily for B2C, but when you ask an impact question, they're like, it's not that bad. You can use that tactical vulnerability to get that out the way just so you're actually getting the right answer. I'd say there's like a 95% conversion rate. You're always going to get a decent answer, especially if you're like, yeah, like for me, like it was super stressful, frustrating, pissed me off, annoying, whatever it is, they're going to agree with some type of negative emotion. So super solid too. Um, Number four, find the real pre-handling objection for no change in the past, right? Prospect can tell you, oh, I never thought about it. I didn't want to get scammed. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the time. There's two reasons that somebody doesn't make change in terms of investing into a mentorship. And one is fear, fear of failure, fear of not knowing if I put all this time and this energy, is it actually going to work out? Do I actually see myself being the guy that is making X, Y, and Z income, is able to be able to do what I want to do? Number two is the fear of losing the money, right? If I invest into this mentor, am I actually going to get the help I need? Those are the two reasons. What I've seen on sales calls that always bottlenecks to those two. No matter what they give you up front, bro, there is a lot of people that will tell you a bunch of shit, and you have to get down to the root cause on why they didn't make change, right? Because time, money, didn't didn't know who to commit to, didn't know what mentor to do. It's all smoke screens for the real objection. It's just fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of losing money, fear of losing time, fear of failure. If this doesn't work out, if I put all this time and this energy into something, is it actually gonna work out for me? So that's super, super, super important. Considering that like that is the main driver and you have to get to it. Also, there's some cases, ego can be a big role. Um, Especially in niches or any B2B, any B2C. Um, Laziness too is sometimes, here I am being contradicting, but I really think below it all is just fear of the unknown. It's just really going to work out because if they were lazy, they truly believe that they were going to get results and they actually had a certainty that they were actually going to see the results that they wanted to, would they be where they are or would they have hesitated to take the action? So find the real reason. Never move on until you genuinely feel that you know why they didn't make change in the past, because then you're going to build that gap on how that created them, that decision making, that mindset behind everything. Is the reason that they're not where they want to be. Super important. Never taking like a bullshit answer. Any type of excuse. There's always going to be some type of excuse that they give you, but make sure to pre-handle correctly so that at the end of the call you're not getting objections. Think about it, wife, husband, parent, whatever it is, so you can save yourself some time and actually get to that 60% close rate. Number five is creating urgency. This is a part, I think, of the whole sales call in terms of discovery for pre-handling. Um, Almost everything creates that urgency, but making sure to emphasize like they have to feel like you are the answer to all of their problems, right? You are the solution, you are the medicine to get them to where they want to go, and without you they're not going to be able to get there, right? Creating that urgency. Now what this doesn't mean is be super salesy, it's be super, yeah, like what do you feel like happens if like you don't make change, man? Like don't be salesy. You're helping them, your friend, but really creating that gap. Like this is where I am right now. If I don't make change, then I'm never going to be here. If I don't make change and invest into the right, this right here, I'm never going to get to where I want to go to. And urgency if you can get that correct, the think about it, the talk to your wife, the money object, I guess more so like fear, it is all almost all down the window just because they have a purpose to actually take action, take a leap of faith because they feel that urgency. Of course, you don't make it high pressure, and they can smell that through the call. But genuinely be present and have that conviction in your sales call, right? Make sure you're keeping that authority, just so they have that urgency to take action instead of just letting it go with the wind, like they have for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or whatever the case is. Those 5 things are super, super, super important. What it looks like in terms of stop reading the script, making sure to contextualize your questions, tactical vulnerability, man, that changed a lot of things. Really getting the answers I needed, really finding the real reason, never moving on until you actually find the real reason, and then really creating that gap and that urgency. I definitely think if you are trying to get to 60, because 60% is still not even that high, but that's what helped me. Obviously, I'm looking for 75, 80%, but that's what helped me get to the 60% on an organic offer. Um, but you really just have to implement those things to be able to get to that next level. If not, then you'll stay at 40, 35, 45, around that range. But if you're like anybody else, you're in the space to be able to make as much money as possible. So really implementing those things helped me out a ton. If you guys ever have any questions about anything, I'll put my Instagram in the description below. Check that out. I'll answer as much questions as you guys have. Let's make some more money. Peace, boys.